In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to make a AOE effect that actively follows your character. So first, have the initialization, disable the abilities that you want to make the new one over, then set a variable to your current position. For this, I chose the variable O, because I was thinking origin in terms of position. Then this would be for a passive ability. Create effect visible to all players on all teams. Be type ring, just so it's very clear where the outer limits of it are. Position would be an adding O with a vector of 0.50. That shifts it just a little bit. And then the radius you want. And then set a variable to the last created entity. And that'll store the ring itself into the variable, so that at a later point you can call it again. And then for the passive ability, ongoing each player, character, or slot you want, is the hero that you're doing it for being played. Then you want to have a wait at the very beginning, because it's going to loop through this constantly, and you'll want that wait to be very small. So because for some reason it wouldn't let me set it below a quarter of a second, I did divide 1 by 10, so that'd be 1/10 of a second that it updates. Then set the position variable again for all of the rules. Is hero being played also going to be in all of the rules, just to make sure that it only applies to that character. And then is player variable Z, which will be the cooldown for the ability, 0, meaning it's off cooldown. And is ability 1 button being held, set the cooldown variable to however long the cooldown will be, just so you won't be able to use it multiple times during the use of it. Create an effect visible to all players on all teams. It'll be a yellow ring for this one with a radius of 4 at the event player. And again, set a variable to that ring with last created entity. Then you wait however long it's going to last, and then destroy effect. Normally it'll say last created effect or something along those lines, but you can set it to player variable so it destroys the specific one that you want. And then you have your cooldown, like I showed in a different video. Then the wait for however long the cooldown is, and then ensuring that the cooldown variable is at 0 again, so that you would be able to use it. And then you have this rule to account for the motion of the character. So, is hero being played, and is the cooldown variable greater than 0? Which means as long as it's being used actively, this will run, and we should have one that's should have that too, just so that it doesn't continue past when the cooldown starts of it, just to make sure that's good. It's set to 10 at the beginning of the cooldown, or at the beginning of the use of it. then it waits 5 and begins the cooldown. And since it's only looking for the cooldown is equal to 10, like it starts at, when the cooldown starts, it'll only play for this section of it. So then you have your wait a 1/10 of a second condition, just so that it'll update frequently, but still not happen literally constantly, so that it doesn't overwork itself. Teleport the variable that you set the ring to event player, and then, because this ability will heal your team, you have heal, but not heal over time, because this is going to happen 10 times a second. So just a sudden heal. Players within radius of add event player, the radius of however big you made the ring. Team of event player. Check on surfaces and enemy barriers, which is how things are usually done in Overwatch normally. Healed by event player, and with a sudden healing of 4 happening every 1/10 of a second. That's 40 a second, and since I have it lasting 5 seconds, that'll be 200 total, which is basically the same as Soldier's healing zone. And then, again, abort if condition is false, and loop if it's true. And then ability 2 is going to be an area of effect that hurts the enemy team. So is the ability button held? Is the hero played? And is it off cooldown? Set the cooldown to however long the cooldown will be. Create the effect of a ring visible to all players on all teams. Add event player, the radius of however much you want. Set a variable to that ring. Wait however long. Destroy the ring. And start the cooldown. Wait however long the cooldown is, and ensure that the cooldown is done. Then again, when you do the motion of it, you have to check if the cooldown is started but not actually cooling down, as well as if you used it and you're playing the hero, wait the 1/10 of a second, teleport that ring that you have stored to the variable for ability 2's ring to the player. Set your damage, which is done the same way as the healing. It'd be a sudden damage instead of damage over time, because it'll continuously happen every 1/10 of a second. And again, with it set to 4 damage each time, it would do a max of 200 damage. Abort if condition is false, loop if true. Then there's some ultimate charge. And then the ultimate is set to be an area around the character which increases the damage done by your team. So is the ultimate button held, and is Q greater than or equal to 100, meaning that it's fully charged. Set it to 0, and set K to true, which I'll explain what that is when we get to the second half of the ultimate. Create effect visible to all players and all teams. This would be a white ring, add event player with a radius of 8, and set variable to that ring. And then there's another effect, which is this time white sparkles, the same size, same visibility. And then you want to set another variable to that. And then you wait however long the ultimate lasts. 6 seconds is pretty reasonable for ultimates. Destroy the variable effect. This would be for the ring. This would be for the sparkles. And then ensure that the cooldown, or that the charge is back at 0. And set K back to false. And then you have the motion of it. So, is K true? This will just check that you're actively using the ultimate. Wait 1/10 of a second. Set the damage dealt by players within radius. Add event player of 8. Only affects team of event player. Checked on surfaces to 200, which means they'll do twice as much damage. Teleport H and J variables to the event player, which is the ring and the sparkles respectively. And then set damage dealt by players in radius back to 100, which would be normal amount of damage. There should have a little bit of a wait there too, just to ensure that it doesn't immediately get canceled out. So this one will be a little choppier than ability 1 and 2 because it waits, 1/5 of a second instead of 1/10 every time it moves. And then again, abort if false, loop if true. So now go into the game and demonstrate it.
Now entering King's Row.
True self is without form.
So for the passive ability, just due to how it works, and since it's always active, it ends up a little choppier than the other abilities would. And I tried setting the wait between the loop of it shorter, and that didn't change it at all. So it's just the effect of the just doing it, and I don't know of a way to get around it, but take a little bit of damage, then I'll use ability 1. I heal constantly. This ring moves nice and smooth because of the short wait, and if I use ability 2, see the red ring, you'll see some damage ticks, and again it's nice and smooth like ability 2 or ability 1. It's just passive is sloppy for something I can't really control to my knowledge. So I'll build up a little bit of alt charge and get back to you. So as you can see, my ultimate charge is at 150, meaning it would be more than fully charged. So if I use the ultimate, there's now a white ring, sparkles around me, and I do a bit more damage.
require aid.
Gotta hit them to see it. So, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching.